Hey guys, I'm Mike Curtin. This is the Brew Old Order podcast, and today I'm with Eric Serani of FlyteCo Brewing in Denver, Colorado. Eric, how's it
Hey,
going?
Mike.
How's
Good,
everything?
good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. I appreciate you taking out the time. So can you just give me a quick background of how you got into brewing? You know, where you grew up and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's kind of a long interweaving story of my entire life. Went to CU Boulder here in Colorado. I grew up in Broomfield, Colorado, just a suburb of Denver. Went to school at University of Colorado for engineering. I went into aerospace engineering, study airplanes and rockets and stuff. And my brother-in-law got me a homebrew kit for my 21st birthday and had no idea how to use it. Just looked like
Right.
a fun thing to try out. And as a college student, the prospect of making your own essentially free alcohol was very, very intriguing. Um, my now business partner, Jason Slingsby, was a classmate of mine. He was in chemical engineering. Um, and he just really fell in love with the brewing process, the recipe creation process, making the perfect balanced beer down to the molecular level, all that. And I was more of the systems mechanical electrical engineer that liked building things. So I'd build them temperature controlled chambers to really kind of control the whole process of brewing beer. And just the combination of him on the recipe side, me on the process side, we just started making really, really good beer. Um, Kept us together throughout the years. We went and took engineering jobs as normal people with engineering degrees go do after college, and both found that we really didn't like big bureaucracy, kind of these big companies that we were finding ourselves getting into. And our natural entrepreneurial drive kind of brought us back together, brought us back to Colorado. Went Played around with it for a few more years. Our third business partner, Morgan O'Sullivan, was my next door neighbor. We moved in within days of each other. We cut a hole in between our fences, made a gate, had a combined backyard for really, really big backyard barbecues. About 150 people would show up. Jason and I would
Very
homebrew
cool.
beer. We'd get chef friends to cater some just really fantastic food, and it just became a thing. All our friends were telling us that we should do it for a living, and a couple friends even said that they'd invest. So that kind of started the snowball of actually looking into turning a turning a passion into a brewery. So it's been quite the journey. A lot of bumps along the road, but you know we're still here thriving.
Gotcha. Very cool. Now you said that you started making some really good beer while home brewing. Was your first beer a success? And do you remember what beer that
Oh
was?
no, first beer absolutely not. It was horrible.
He usually never is, right?
But yeah, as a college student, it still had alcohol in it, so
Right.
we're not dumping it down the drain.
No, absolutely not.
It'll get finished one way or the other. It probably took about two or three batches. We started, man, I remember we made like a dark lager, the first lager we ever tried home brewing. Fermenting it in a refrigerator. Really surprised us. I think that was kind of a turning point of just mixing, extracts together and following a recipe versus kind of getting a little creative and trying
Right.
some of the harder, more complicated stuff. It really opened our eyes to everything that we could be doing. So,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of dark beers, I'm trying one of your beers right now.
Oh yeah, is that
No,
the ski plane stout?
that is
Yeah,
the stout, American stout.
yep. That was a new beer that Jason whipped up this year. It's I don't know.
Very good.
Very
Oh
very
wow.
balanced. All his beers are very well balanced. Never too hoppy, never too bitter.
No.
Um, Plays right in the lines of a good American stout. So
Yeah. Great mouthfeel.
even
Very
in the
good.
summertime, it's a good beer.
Yeah. No, it's not too heavy. That's perfect. I like
Yeah.
it. I'm glad I
Awesome.
have one more. I'm glad I have one more in the fridge. Uh,
Yeah.
so you guys opened in March of 2019, right?
Yep.
You opened for about a year. COVID hits. How do you go about pivoting to make your business work and to continue being successful?
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do is pivot on a daily basis back then.
Right.
Yeah, our first year of business, I think we had our 1 year anniversary the weekend before all the shutdowns. So we got fortunate in the sense that we had, our biggest, busiest weekend ever, um, a couple days before everything was shut down. So kind of sent us, off on vacation with a little bit of money in the bank. Uh,
Yeah. Right.
that that vacation didn't last very long. I think it was the next day. The three owners, we're sitting there, no revenue to pay the staff, so we got to, furlough the staff, and then just get creative of how do we make money this week or today even. The They still allowed to go beer sales, so we created a beer drive through in our parking lot with a big sign, and we'll come out to your car, hand it to you. They allowed for delivery in Denver, so just put it out on Facebook. Anyone stuck at home, I will personally hand deliver a beer
Right.
from our
Right.
brewery to you. um, and it forced us to do things that we weren't planning on doing for a long time. We created an e-commerce store on our website so that friends and family all around the country could support, buy t-shirt, hats, and we'd ship
Right.
them off. We got into a little bit of mobile canning. That wasn't really in our 5 year plan of putting beers in cans and selling them to liquor stores. But
Yeah. Those
lo
mobile
and
canning
behold,
guys made a killing, I'm sure.
yeah, and being in Denver, man, there's so many resources here. There's,
Yeah.
every ingredient you could ever want on demand. It's all at the warehouses nearby. And then, yeah, mobile canners, industry supports incredible. So we did that. We got a few of our beers packaged, sold in liquor stores. Pushed further out into the world that we normally wouldn't have done for a while. So yeah, it was tough. We grabbed the government assistance, the PPP funds, everything that was available to kind of keep the business afloat. Uh, but yeah, it was really our neighbors. We were fortunate to be in a good neighborhood where people would stop by and buy $50, $100 worth of craft beer
Right.
just to take home and drink. So,
It's a great feeling, I'm
uh,
sure.
yeah, I like to say I hate saying it because the pandemic was a horrible thing that did a lot of horrible things to people's lives and families, but it made us stronger. It was day after day after day of problems, and after enough problems, you kind of start to see your problems differently. It's as opportunities, as um, you know, op- solutions rather than just more stuff piling up that's dragging you down. So
Right.
it was a good learning curve for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. So during that process of, because you had been working on this brewery for, you said, a while prior to
Hmm.
opening. From that whole, during that whole process, what would you say was the hardest part from you, from the inception of the idea to open up a brewery to the
Yeah.
actual opening of the doors? What would you say was the hardest part?
Oh man, it's all kind of mushed together in my mind, but figuring out. I'm an engineer. Jason's an engineer. We know the process, the technical process of making a beer. And now we tell everyone that's the easiest thing we do is actually make beer. The whole business aspect of everything, financing, lending, lease negotiations, all these things that was not prepared to go into when we said we just wanted to make beer for a living. Yeah, figuring out how to talk with banks. You know, you may have a great idea, but being able to articulate your idea on paper through a business plan, creating enough documents to show people that are willing to invest and institutions that are willing to invest that you actually know what you're doing and won't just go lose their money is kind of a skill that no one told me that I needed to have too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But now I do. After many failed attempts, yeah, we tried starting up in two other locations, and it fell apart because the pieces weren't there in place. And finally, on the third or fourth attempt, it all came together. Right place, right time, good location, uh, good support group of investors, and it all just kind of it happened when it was supposed to happen. So
Right. Very cool. Um, you need to shut that off. Sorry. I didn't
oh, all
realize the
good.
AC was on. It's really hot over here in New York right now.
I couldn't hear it.
So, you talk about uh, your friends wanted to invest and, you know, getting involved with banks. How did you actually go about finding the capital altogether to fund your business?
Just networking. One or two friends said that they'd be interested in helping us out, and then you ask if they introduce you to their network of friends, and then just turn that into a couple hundred contacts, and maybe at the end of the day, one or two said yes and want to jump on board. Uh,
Right.
yeah, just kind of getting beaten up. Yeah, having people rip apart your plan, rip apart your dreams in front of your face over and over again puts some thicker skin on, to handle those situations in the future. But you also learn what investors and banks are wanting to hear. Saying the right things that will put them at ease, that you're not going to waste their money or time. And then for banks, I just cold called pretty much everyone in town. I, got a list of 50 banks and called every single one of them asking about lending options, and not many will even talk to you as a startup,
Right.
especially in the restaurant space. Our initial plan was actually to start up as a brew pub, so
Okay.
food, beer, the whole deal, and couldn't find a single lender that would take a startup restaurant. Restaurants have a pretty bad success rate to begin with, especially the ones that have no operating history or revenue. So we just couldn't make it over that hurdle, and then had to cut food completely out of our business plan. And once we did that, we found funding the next day. It was it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about people kind of not, so to speak, stepping on your dreams, but you know, it's it could always be a struggle when you're running into hurdles. What kind of mindset do you think you have owning a business? What kind of mindset do you
Uh,
think you have to have, rather?
I mean, it starts. So a friend of mine once told me every entrepreneur, everyone that wants to start a business shares two qualities in common. It's confidence and naivete. So you're you believe in yourself, but you're dumb enough to actually go do it.
Right.
You don't know what don't know when you're getting into it, and yeah, a lot of it is ego driven and getting into that with that mindset. But over time, the world just kind of beats you down until you have. I think you need a learner's mindset, um, knowing that you don't know everything, knowing that there's always someone else out there that is going to do it better than you. But the cool thing about the craft beer industry is we all help each other. Yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
there's our closest neighbor is a brewery 2 blocks down the street, and we opened within a month of each other. And rather than be at each other's necks like any other industry, we help each other out. When our keg washer breaks or theirs breaks, we wash kegs at each other's breweries. We share ingredients. Um,
Very cool.
but yeah, just kind of being open. There's so many curveballs that get thrown that are way out of the realm that you would ever expect. That you just gotta learn to be patient and just deal with stuff, because it's always gonna come up.
Right. Is
Hmm.
that what? That's your dog?
Yeah, you can hear them. They're they're
Just
extra
trying to make it
excited.
onto the podcast, man. You know,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. There's people
I
walking by
love.
the house, and they got to
I
scare them
gotcha.
off.
Of course. You know, it's like, what are you doing out here? What are you
Yeah.
doing out in front of my house? And when opening your business, besides obviously COVID, what's something you never thought you were gonna have to deal with?
Um, I guess I didn't think I wasn't gonna have to deal with it at all, but I've always been an engineer. Whenever I worked at breweries, I always worked in the production line. I don't have too much front of house experience, so the customer service aspect of the business was quite the learning curve for me.
Right.
You know, being an engineer, small talk is it was not a big skill of mine. You know, it was get to the point. If we don't have a point of talking, what's the point? um,
Yeah. Right.
and then just dealing with other people's problems. Some people may have had a bad day and come in, and it could be nothing of your own volition, but they might freak out, blow up in your brewery, and kind of learning some of these people skills has been a nice learning experience. That with along with the staffing, management, mentorship, growing a staff, creating a company culture. Uh, those are all stuff that I never learned in school, and just kind of had to
Yeah. Right.
figure out trial by fire. So yeah,
Yeah. I'm sure you meet some interesting characters on a day-to-day basis. You know.
always. Yeah, that's what
Um,
makes it fun, though.
machines are one thing; they don't really talk back, but there's
Yeah,
always problems to solve there. But as far as people go,
that's a bigger
that's always a
mystery.
tricky one.
Yep.
And is there any is there any big lessons that you've actually learned since opening?
Oh man. Uh, where to begin? Um, yeah, creating a culture, hiring the right people rather than just hiring to hire. There's a number of times with just the weird things that happened over the past 2 years where the labor market goes from you know, over saturated with too many people in the labor pool to no one, half the labor pool decides to get out of the industry and go do something else. So now there's a shortage.
Right.
We got into a few times kind of opening back up where we just needed bodies in the building, and we hired anyone that would show up to an interview. Um, and it filled an immediate need, but kind of the long term damages of having some really good employees that have been around for a while and some that don't really pull their weight created this just kind of bad friction in the company that we're working on other forward-looking projects, but we just had to stop all of our forward progress and go back and revisit the culture, and kind of fix some of the negative things that were coming through. And once we spent some time really digging into it and really listening to people and what they wanted, and it turned around 180 degrees and is much better now. But yeah, it was just eye opening. The right
Right.
people make such a difference.
Yeah, good help's hard to find. That's one, and two, I hear like building a team is everything. So you can kind of you know, you can stop working in your business and start working on your business. These people
Mm-hmm.
will kind of run the show, so to speak, and help you to continue
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
It's important. Uh, I'm sure you've run into a lot of people in the beer industry and met tons of people, but who's been the biggest inspiration in the beer industry for you?
Hmm. Um. Good question. I spent some time working at Left Hand Brewing in Longmont, and
Nice.
man, they have done a
I love
fantastic job.
their stout, man. Their milk stout's one of
Yeah,
my favorite. The
milk
nitro
stout,
milk
man.
stout. Fucking
I packaged
aces.
millions of bottles of milk stout. That
I'm
was
sure.
that was fun. Uh, One of the owners of Left Hand, Eric Wallace and Dick Dorr, uh, they were in the Air Force. They traveled the world, and throughout their travels, discovered that beer was really good around the world. And they were confused when they came back home and had to go back to drinking yellow water. Um, and they've been at it for over 25 years now, and the amount of effort that they've put into developing a good company culture, being very transparent with how the business operates, and doing just goodwill in the world, and using their platform to, I don't know, make the world a little bit of a better place rather than just make beer and push it out the door. So yeah, I would say Eric Wallace, Dick Dorr, those guys are pioneers. They're local, and I kind of have a personal affiliation to Left Hand Brewing, and just want
Very
to
cool.
carry kind of that vision that they've set out there, through our brand as well.
Right. And they're, I mean, speaking of them, they're very successful. Obviously, 25 years going on. Is there a moment for you that kind of sticks out as a successful moment where you knew you were going in the right direction?
Um, yeah, it happens every once in a while where you get, it's usually your friends that are behind you, the people that mean the most to you. But an anniversary party, uh, when all your best friends are in the room, that were the same friends that were telling you that you should go start a business, because we're really good at it, and they come back around and support you and keep cheering you on. Those are the moments that kind of keep us going,
Right.
because it doesn't look like what you had initially set out in your dreams, 5, 10 years ago, whenever we started. Um, but it's always nice to be reminded that you know we are appreciated. The community loves what we do, and yeah, actually wants to see us succeed.
Yeah. Right. That's a pretty awesome feeling, I'm sure. And
Hmm.
is there ever a moment where things get a little like overwhelming, uh, where you need to take a break and you need a mental break from everything? And if so, what does that look like for you?
It depends on how much work needs to be done. My mental break in life is going flying. I have a
Awesome.
small single engine airplane that my father and I built in our garage when I was in high school, and I've been flying that for about 17 years now, ever since. Flying is, it's part of our brand. We're aviation themed, but it really is a big part of my life. It teaches you a lot of skills on. I think there's a lot of skills that you learn getting your pilot's license, and that translate well to business, because if you take the analogy of, your business is your aircraft, and if something goes wrong, you got to effectively troubleshoot it. There's no time
Yeah,
to raise your hand and ask for help and wait for someone to come fix it.
for sure.
Um, so yeah, going flying, it's freeing. All of us, it's really this cool effect when you take off and you climb out. All your problems get really little, and they just look like these insignificant little problems. And kind of seeing the world from that perspective, when you come back down and land, gives you just kind of a fresh perspective to go attack all these problems that seemed big, but are in fact pretty small in the grand scheme of things.
Very
Um,
awesome.
if I need to clear my head and too much work needs to get done, I love just going and hammering out manual labor. I'll go mop the floors. I'll go scrub something. I'll go, hang a shelf that needs to be hanged. But there's just kind of that like physical uh, task that really is productive and helps clear my mind.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So, you talk about like if you're up in the air and you ever have a problem, have that ever happened? Any problems arose where you had to think quick?
Yeah, yeah. My business partner Morgan and I, we were flying to Kansas in the winter one day, and I have instrument rating, so that allows me to fly through the clouds. And we were flying through the clouds, and one by one, the instruments just started acting up, reading something weird, and turning off. And yeah, that was a moment where
Dude.
you don't you're trusting your instruments to know which way's up, and you're wondering if
Yeah, right.
you can trust the one that you're looking at or not. But there's kind of a thought process that they drill into your heads of this doesn't work, then try this, and we slowly descended, found the nearest airport. It had just snowed, so the ground was white and the clouds were white, so it was kind of hard to tell when you popped out of the clouds. But we were about 500 feet above the ground when we found the airport, landed. Um, these small country airports are funny. There's usually one person there running the whole show, and
Right.
obviously they got a warning from air traffic control that we were coming in for an emergency landing. And we open the door. It's raining, snowing. Guy just says, "Hey, how's it going? Can I get you anything? Change your pants." Uh, so I was just like, "That's exactly what we need."
Some
Yeah,
bourbon, anything?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, a
waited the
heavy
storm
drink,
out.
please.
Yeah. It's you
Jeez.
start to realize why pilots like to have a post-flight debrief beverage. It's usually
This,
part of the curriculum.
I hear you loud and clear. Sounds
Yeah.
like it. And you said you've been open since 2019. Um, what do you think's been the biggest change in the industry, in your opinion?
Um, I mean, COVID did a number on distribution and packaging. It's been interesting the past 2 years seeing how many people got into packaging, canning, and distribution. It was what we had to do for a year or 6 months or so. It was kind of the only way we could sell beer. But it was already a very crowded space, especially in Colorado. Grocery store, liquor stores, shelves with craft beer is just
Right.
insane. There's hundreds and hundreds. It's starting to look like wine stores.
Yeah, right.
And competing in that area is harder and harder. And I've noticed more people getting into canning, which we'll probably venture into shortly. But it makes me nervous with an already um, limited shelf space for that kind of stuff, and an already saturated market to just kind of flood it with a bunch more small breweries. But who knows? Maybe it just turns into the wine industry, and there's every liquor store has 100 different varieties from all over the place, and just
Yeah.
the selection's great. But I don't know.
I mean, that seems to be the way it's going. It's
Yeah,
kind of crazy. You walk in and I can be in a beer distributor for an hour, easy,
yeah.
easy,
It's
just going around deciding. It's crazy. And
the
there's a place by me called Beer Town, and it's got like, I mean, you're talking shelves and shelves and shelves of beer, and it's
yeah.
just like, wow, you know,
It
it's
it
like,
does
what do I
induce
choose?
some analysis paralysis in consumers. Often I get
Yep.
overwhelmed with a large menu often. But yeah, that
Yeah.
that in outdoor patio space. That's changed a lot. We gained a large patio by taking over our parking lot, and
Hmm.
we're able to rezone our parking lot and keep it permanent. And a lot of places around town are kind of keeping public streets, are turning more into pedestrian walkways, and uh, it's just been a shift in Denver's huge for patio season. It's we love the sun
Yeah,
out
I'm
here. We
sure.
love doing stuff
I'm sure.
outside. So
I was out there not too long ago, um, and I didn't get a chance to swing by there, and I planned on it, but
yeah.
I will be coming back out there in October. I don't think it's going to be patio season.
It still can be.
Yeah.
It can be. October's the time of year. It can be 20 degrees one day and
All right.
85 the next. And
I think I'm gonna make my way out there for the beer festival. So
yeah,
I don't know
come
if you'll
come
be out
stop
there,
by.
but Yeah, I definitely will. I
Yeah,
actually like last time I was there, I got to stop at Bierstadt Lager House, so that was a cool experience. I'd never been there, so
yeah, love
that
those
was a cool
guys.
spot.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was your gateway beer into the craft beer world?
And
I love this question.
probably a New Belgium fat tire. I would
Yeah,
say
fat
this
tire.
is yeah. I mean, it's a Colorado beer. You
Mm-hmm.
know, about the time that you know it, everything really started blowing up. You know, fat tire was what everyone was talking about.
Right.
I think the first time I drank it, you know, having only drank Coors Light, you know, College Keystone Light, the really light discount beers,
Natty Ice.
was just kind of surprised by the how much flavor and malt in it. I probably didn't like it the first time I tried it, but then had it a few more times. Was like, okay,
Right.
this is a
This is
sipping
different.
beer. This isn't beer pong beer. I get the difference, and
Right.
yeah, yeah. Then yeah, once I had a home brewing kit, then I discovered more craft beers, trying to clone them with a clone recipe book, and yeah, it snowballed from there.
So, what's next for your brewery, and what does the future look like for
Uh,
FlyteCo?
yeah, we're
I mean,
we're
I heard about the Denver's Central Park uh, location, which sounds
yeah,
very cool. You want to tell us about that?
yeah, we've got exciting opportunity in front of us. Our second location that we're opening up later this summer is an actual former International Airport control tower. So in Denver's Central Park neighborhood, the whole neighborhood was formerly Stapleton International Airport, which was Denver's main airport from the 1920s up until 1995. So
That's
it's got a
awesome.
lot of history behind it. When I was a little kid, I remember flying out of the airport that was right in the middle of the city. You didn't, you know, now if you've been to Denver, you know that our airport is halfway to Kansas.
Yes.
You land and you're like, I thought there were supposed to be mountains here. There's not. Um, but they tore everything down except for the old control tower in 2017 or 2016. There's a company called Punch Bowl Social that renovated it, built a 20,000 square foot restaurant, bowling alleys, mini golf, 4 bars, you know, 2 floors. It's a really big space, and unfortunately, they ran into some trouble during the pandemic and couldn't keep that location afloat. And uh, stars kind of aligned. Investors wanted to put us in the building, and we got the opportunity to be in probably the most on-brand location that we could have
Yeah.
ever asked for. So
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful
yeah,
thing, man. I'm happy
it
for you
is.
guys. That's great.
Thank you. It is quite the step up for us. It's about 5 times the size of our original brewery in both, you know, space and complexity. So we've uh, we've got our work cut out for us for the next few months, but we've got a stellar management team hired so far, that's gonna really help us take off. Pun
Very
intended, of
cool.
course, but yeah.
And is there a finish line for the date when there'll be a grand opening for that?
We're hoping
I know
some, yeah,
construction's crazy. I know. I
yeah,
did construction
and
for many years. There's always a date and then add another year to it.
yeah. Luckily, the space was in good enough condition that we're really just repainting, redecorating, putting our brand on it. So not a ton of major construction ourselves. The biggest question is hiring hourly people.
Hmm.
We've been lucky so far with our management, but you know, it's a tough labor pool out there. Everyone's offering uh, you know, livable wages, benefits, everything. How do you stand out
Right.
when 20 of your neighbors are offering the same thing down the street? So
For sure.
um, yeah,
Well,
we're
you get
shooting
to
for
work at a
sometime in
brewery, so
July. So
sometime
if
in
we can,
July.
if we can find 100 people by then and
Yeah.
get them on staff and trained up, let's go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, best of luck
Hmm.
with that, and
Thank you.
hope everything works out. And if somebody came to you and asked you for advice on opening their own brewery, what would you tell them?
Just I don't know. At the end of the day, don't give up. Um, you're gonna get have your plan ripped apart. It's gonna not go the way that you think it does. But if you really, really want to open a brewery, and if you just keep going day after day, making some sort of progress, crawl, walk, run, whatever, you'll get there. It's just a matter of persistence and not letting go. I can't tell you how many times that this business and getting it going crushed me, and I didn't want to keep going. But having friends and family that are supportive, that will support you when you don't want to keep going, that's a big piece of it too. Because if someone's saying just wait till tomorrow, see how you feel before making any big decisions,
Right.
that's a big piece. So yeah, don't give up. Have people around you that support you.
Good support system around you. That
Yep.
is important. Um, and did you happen to have a funny story for us?
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, I'll tell this. So Jason, my business partner, we both homebrewed together when we opened up FlyteCo. We brewed together a few times, but he very quickly took on all of the production responsibilities, and I took on kind of the necessary business, accounting, legal, finance paperwork, the not sexy stuff behind the scenes.
Right.
So I would try to help him out as much as I can. I think after we closed one night, it was probably 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'll be nice. I'll transfer this beer to the bright tank for you, so that when you come in the morning, it'll all be ready. Transferred the beer, took a couple hours, was cleaning up. I think, by the time I was just about ready to get out of there, I was gonna flush the hoses out around 1, uh, 1 in the morning. And the one thing I always underestimate, that it surprises me every time that it shouldn't, is the water pressure from the city water line that you turn on. You're used to the one in your house that's small, but an inch and a half line that you crank on has got some serious force behind it. And I turned the valve, and about 100 feet of brewer's hose with porter, just the end of the hose shot off and just exploded all over the brewery and the tap room. So I spent the next few hours cleaning up the porter mess that I made, and it's a dark beer, and when it's
Yeah.
splattered all over walls in certain areas, people ask questions about what exactly happened. So I'm still finding little remnants of porter splatters on the ceiling, in between the tanks where you know a little tiny bit could get through. It just
Right.
created a line all the way up the wall in the hallway to the ceiling. So it was a lesson in trying to be overly too helpful in the middle of the night, and you know maybe leaving some stuff to the experts. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun.
All good, man. It
Still
happens.
still taking flack for that one
I'll,
constantly.
I'll,
So
eh, I'll never forget when I bottled some beers and from a homebrew, and the two of them clanked together lightly and just shattered, like in my face. I was finding little pieces of glass for months, for
yeah,
months.
yeah,
And then one time I did like a complete rearrange of my apartment, and I just found glass everywhere. And I was like, "How did they even get over here? It's on the other
yeah,
side of the apartment." I was like, "Insane, insane."
yeah.
But yeah,
It's
the
just got to
the
remind you
force,
for months later of that dumb thing that you did.
yeah, for sure. So I have a little segment called Quick Fire Five. Five
Yeah,
quick questions, beer related.
cool.
Ready?
Let's go.
Uh, Somebody comes into your brewery. What's one of the beers you recommend they try?
Fogged Fogged Out Hazy IPA. It's
Fog that.
7.3% New England style. First hazy IPA Jason ever made, and he just absolutely nailed the recipe the first time. Um, that's our most popular beer for sure.
Gotcha. If you could collaborate with any other brewery on a beer, who would it be?
Oh man, was not ready for that question. I would say I haven't reached out yet, but I would love to make a beer with Left Hand someday. That would
Left
be,
hand?
yeah,
Hey,
that would be a
it'd be
bucket list
perfect,
item
man.
for me. Yeah.
It's a circle of life, you know?
Yep.
Favorite style of beer?
I'm really into lagers and pilsners right now.
Lagers and
Just
pilsners. Okay.
kind of on the
Hey, man.
light beer
That
craft
clean
trend.
tasting. I
Yeah,
feel you.
it's a good measure of the process, the skills of a brewery or a brewer. If they can make a good light beer, they can make a good any type of beer.
Gotcha. Barrel aged imperial or both?
Uh, I would say both. Yeah, if you're gonna
Both.
put it in a barrel, let's
Right. Let's make it
get
heavy.
some Yeah, let's go.
And you have one keg of beer to hold you over for a 2 week quarantine. Which beer are you choosing? It could be any beer.
Oh man, of our beers, I would choose our Aero Mexico Mexican lager. It's a beer I can drink, five of, not feel guilty about. It's not too heavy. I'm just imagining the scenario of being on a desert island when you ask that question, so I'm
Yeah,
thinking of a
right.
hot.
That's pretty much it's your desert
Yep.
island beer. That's pretty much the
So
question. So
I'm
I just
thinking
took
I'm
it.
thinking it's gonna be, yeah,
I took it a little, a little different from the whole COVID, the
yeah,
whole COVID aspect because that's kind of where I came up with the idea, I believe. So,
yeah. No, that would
and I
that would
just
be
fit,
my go-to. Yeah.
and I just finished, and that was absolutely delicious. I can't wait to have the
Awesome.
other one.
Yeah.
My cousin asked me to share it with him, but I'll see about that. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
We can send you another 4 pack.
well, I'll be out there, so maybe I'll send some back for myself.
There you go. Even better. Yeah. Come see us at our new location when you come by.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's all I got for you. That's it.
Awesome. No, that
Thank
that
you.
was awesome.
Thank you
That
very
was
much.
been great chatting with you. Really appreciate what you're doing for us brewers, getting us our names out there across the country, and sharing some stories of some passionate business owners. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I love doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I'm Mike
Yeah.
Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast, here with Eric Serani, co-owner of FlyteCo Brewing in Denver, Colorado. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mike.